Hello, hello, and welcome back to Uncharted and Unfiltered, a Journey Back to You podcast. I am so grateful that you are here, and let me take this opportunity to wish you the happiest of New Year's. We are kicking off 2025 with an inspiring conversation about courage, self belief, and the power of emotional freedom techniques. In this episode, I sit down with Jess Johnson, a therapist turned courage and compassion coach and speaker who helps leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators calm their bodies, quiet their minds, and tune into their inner wisdom. Jess opens up about her own experience overcoming an intense fear of spiders and how tapping, also known as EFT, became a game changer for managing anxiety, shifting self doubt, and building confidence. We talk about how this simple practice can help process emotions, reframe old narratives, and create space for growth and possibility. So, whether you're navigating fears, facing big changes, or looking for practical ways to strengthen your emotional resilience, this episode is packed with insights and tools to help you show up with courage, authenticity, and self trust. And with that, I hope you enjoy this conversation. Hello, Jess Johnson. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Cynthia?
I am very well, thank you. I am so grateful for you for joining me in this conversation today. I have earlier this afternoon, I recorded my last episode of 2024. And I let listeners know that there was going to be a very special guest joining me for the very first episode of 2025. And I would love it if you would help us just start that episode off by letting us know who you are, what you do, and if you want to include how we know each other, feel free to do that.
Great. So I'm Jess Johnson, and I am a coach for entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators. And I specialize in really teaching them how to feel their feelings without worrying that they're going to die, because that is literally why we are so scared of feeling our emotions.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what was the journey that you were on to bring you to this moment and this work that you do that I think is so incredibly crucial in the world right now?
Yes, thank you. So I going to try to pick out the highlights here. So when my previous background, so my background is as a therapist. I will start there. And when I first discovered coaching, or really kind of had an experience with coaching, it was when I was an active duty therapist. I was a licensed clinical social worker, actually in the Army, and lots of times, when people, especially people right out of high school, are joining the military, they think that especially when we had wars going on, they're going to go and do the brave stuff, like they're going to go fight bad guys, right? And like 98% of what you do is sweeping the motor pool. And I think, like, as a therapist who joined the military late, I commissioned when I was 32 years old. I decided to join the military, and I thought it was going to heal post-traumatic stress. And a lot, though, whereas, yes, of course, I was working with a lot with that, there's still so much. I mean, you think of the ages that most people are coming out and joining the military, it's 17, 18, 19. And I initially did a coaching course just to bring back tools for the clients that I was working with, or the patients that I had. And I had such a profoundly life-changing experience with just being in this coaching training to get these continuing education credits. I thought I was going to go bring back these tools, and it really asked me to look inward at myself.
Mm.
And so that is how it kind of began. And it wasn't until about 2 years later, even after I had been coaching, that I heard of EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And it was just so profoundly life-changing for myself initially, and working with, actually, arachnophobia is what brought me to EFT. But when I really think about what it has allowed me to do, it allows me to get quiet with myself. It allows me to look inward before asking other people their opinions on what they think I should be doing. It allows
Mm.
you to take risks and recover faster. So that is just the briefest snapshot into it right now.
Absolutely. And can you explain for those that may not know what acrophobia is?
Yes, arachnophobia is fear of spiders. And lots of times people, when I would say previously, like, oh, I have like, I'm scared of spiders or I have an arachnophobia, like people would be like, oh, I don't like spiders either. And I'd be like, no, 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 you don't understand. Like I had a crippling fear of spiders, like to the point where I would not have, right now, as I'm doing this interview with you, I'm sitting at my desk. My desk is inside. A clean house. I'll mention that. My legs are underneath my desk. I never would have been able to talk about this. Like, even though there's no spiders in my office, but without being able to see my entire body, because my brain would have convinced me that there would be like spiders crawling from under my
Wow.
desk to get at me. So it was very crippling. I've broken phones, iPads, because anytime something came onto my screen that looked like it moved quickly, my brain would just be like, it's a spider, and I would hurl them away from me to try and get it, make sure it didn't make that contact.
I had no idea of any of that.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, what a beautiful way for you to be able to not only use the tools and help others use the tools, but to conquer your own fear.
Yeah. I am a big believer in I go first. And that's something that I've really loved about my journey as a coach versus as a therapist. My experience as a therapist was a lot of times being told by professors or bosses, like, you got to take care of yourself first. You got to know how to set boundaries. You got to practice the self-care, all of that. But it'd be like, but then here's all of these patients that you need to see first. And then you need to make sure that your notes are written correctly. And it just felt like a lot of lip service. And so when I decided to get out of the military and pivot to coaching and entrepreneurship, like I really adopted the mindset of it's I'm a product of my product, and that is my best marketing. So be the more I take care of myself and the more that I really explore like what it is that I want and how our emotions play into things that we don't realize that they're playing into, that we quite often minimize, I feel like the easier it is able for me to move through life, whether it is through my business or personal relationships, friendships, etc.
I hope that every person that's listening to this hears that.
Yes.
And I know, like, even as a human resources leader, as a business owner myself, I know we hear these words and then we turn our minds to, well, we have this big list of
Yes.
things to do. But the invitation is really for you as the listener to really pause and think about that for a moment. Because at least been my experience with over 400 and something leaders that I've coached with. And Jess, I'd love to hear like what are the common themes that you see? Is this what you see? And if we could, recognizing the holidays are over,
Mhm.
but if we could bottle up and send a little bit of something in everyone's holiday stocking or Nancy New Year present,
Mhm.
what would that be?
The thing that I would bottle up and love to give as a gift to every person in the world is permission to change their mind
Mm,
without making it mean anything about them. That is the thing I hear people so often have their minds blown about, like, oh, I get to decide what I think now. I get to change my mind about this. And it's not going to mean that I'm a hypocrite, or it's not going to mean that I'm stupid for not knowing something before. It's not going to mean I'm not true to my word. Like, there's so many stories that humans in the modern day age that we live in now, tell themselves without realizing it's something that they can get out of, even the stories that they think might serve them right now, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes those things get you to where you need to be, and then we feel scared of confronting those any further, and that's what kind of leads to settling or thinking like this is enough. I can't ask for more.
Putting the walls, like either keeping ourselves in the limits or
Yes.
putting a wall up so that we're somehow satisfied, or that's what we tell ourselves.
Yes.
It's so interesting. And are you able to give an example, either one of your own or through a client? I realize there's like client confidentiality, totally get that.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear just a couple of shares around what people have changed their minds about.
Mhm. I think they've changed their minds about how much money they can make, whether they're going to be a good parent or not, whether they are a good parent or not. I've worked a lot with people with ADHD who have such guilt, especially if their children now have it. Like I must have done something wrong, or it's my fault that they're like this because they got this gene from me, or whatever that is. That really changing their minds too about how proud they can be of
Mhm.
themselves. That's such a huge thing, and that's another thing that people don't realize how much that their inability to receive holds them back, because again we feel selfish or we feel like we're taking away from somebody if they pay us a compliment, and we don't immediately give it to them back or kind of diminish whatever it was that they've said, right? Like, I love your sweater. Oh, this old thing. I like your haircut. Yeah, but it could be better, right? Like my husband does this all the time. He's like a rock climber and surfer, and I'll be like, oh, he's so fantastic. He'll be like, yeah, but I'm not Alex Honnold. I'm like, okay, Alex Honnold is like an Olympian. Like nobody's asking you to be him. Like just take the compliment and move on, right?
What do you think? I mean, I would just love to hear your hypothesis about like where does that come from and how do we change it?
I mean, I think it comes, I mean, it's always going to come down to like what society tells us, right? And there's a lot of things that we hear about the importance of being seen or not hurt or being humble. That's a big one too. Like, I'm not allowed to brag about myself. I'm not allowed to uh, think great things about myself. The themes that I see driving this are, one, we're disappointing ourselves ahead of time because it's like this fear of, if I tell people I'm good at something, or I own this about myself and somebody has a different opinion than me, they think that I'm not that great or that this isn't the best thing ever. Like we make ourselves wrong oftentimes, right? Instead of just giving ourselves permission to have a different opinion than somebody else.
Absolutely. It's one of the I was just checking on Byron Katie's website the other day because she has a list of universal beliefs.
Mhm.
And one of those, and I go to them quite often because I'm like, okay, let me just check. Like, is this a universal thing or is this something unique when
Mhm.
I'm working with client work, etc.? And this idea of like, I must be right, like I have to be right is a universal belief. I am right is a universal belief. So too is I am wrong.
Yes.
And it's so fascinating because, and I've talked to my listeners many, many episodes about the fact that there isn't any right, there isn't any wrong. It's just what's good or wrong, what's right or wrong for you. Through
Totally.
discernment, you get to decide what that means. And what I'm hearing you talk about is a couple of things. It's conditioning, what we've been
Mhm.
taught about ourselves, what society has been taught, what has teaches us about ourselves, and I can't remember what I heard yesterday, but it was some comment like if someone that you didn't know said what you were wearing looked terrible, you probably wouldn't care. However, if someone you love or know makes a comment about what you're wearing, all of a sudden we make it mean something about ourselves.
Yes. And this is I just think about this because, especially this example, right? Because my husband detests jumpsuits. I am obsessed with jumpsuits. I am wearing, you can see me, I'm wearing overalls right now. Like, like, and these ones in particular, he told me I looked like a 90s mom or something like that. Like, um, but I'm just like, okay, that gets to be your opinion, right? Because of the work I've done. I would, if 6 years ago now, my husband had been like, God, I really don't like jumpsuits. They're really terrible. And it was something I loved so much. Like I might have purged them from my wardrobe or like never worn them like around him. And now I'm just like, okay, well, I also don't believe in right or wrong, but for him in this scenario, I can be like, you can be wrong. You can be wrong about this.
And it can be okay.
Totally. It doesn't mean anything about me or him because the thing that Eric will say always about me is like the confidence I have, whether I am wearing something and having makeup or I'm just in, finished at the gym and looking a hot mess. Like the energy with which I greet things is always going to be the same.
Well, and so this is probably a beautiful time to bring in EFT. And I want to, like, in the context of transformation, can you share with us a little bit about like how have you used EFT to help you in all of these ways, to change your mind, to be more confident, to show up and just own who you are?
Totally. And the thing I want to talk, because I know this podcast is all about stepping into authenticity, right? And that is really what authenticity is being able to greet any situation with the same energy, the energy of who you are, right? Those things stay the same. Now, you might look a little different each day or be like crankier or whatever, but like our values and those things within us are that is like the who we are, that essence of who we are, being able to take in information every single day and also like recognize that we're changing a little bit every single day because we're learning something new. And this is what it comes down to, that skill of being able to change our mind and really like allow ourselves to evolve um, instead of being so scared of that. I felt like I had to say that. Now ask your other question again.
I love that you felt that you had to share that and that you did share it. And what I was curious about is how did you use these tools and techniques to support yourself on the way there? And I guess for context, I've talked about EFT very little
Yes.
on the podcast, so I have a very beginner's knowledge of it, and I have to credit you for a lot of it. A lot of the books that you've suggested to me, the resources you've suggested to me. I am, and if any, this is just an invitation, I am on Jess's email list, so I get to participate in some of her amazing sessions, group work, which has been amazing. So whatever you feel would be useful to just share with how you've supported yourself in that transformation and growth.
Yeah, let's back up for a second and just talk about what EFT is then first and foremost. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it involves tapping on energy meridian points, which are the same points used in, if you've ever done acupuncture or acupressure, that's also working with the energy meridians. And the meridians that we're specifically using within EFT help to calm the central nervous system. So when we are tapping on these points while putting our attention on the truth of how we might be thinking or feeling about something, we're able to calm the body and access a greater sense of peace, which is so important, especially when we are working through something big, whether it's a trauma, whether it's self-doubt, whether it's anger or helplessness. So often we just put lids on things. We stick them in the corner. We say, I'll get to that later because we think it's going to take a long time. Like, I know I started off by this saying like EFT gives you the ability to feel your feelings with the security of knowing that they're not going to kill you, right? That might sound a little funny, but in all seriousness, it's not. When we think about the high suicide rates that we have in the world today,
Mhm.
like, that is why it is so important to be able to take care of ourselves, to give ourselves compassion, to really learn how to motivate with that space and grace instead of shame or blame, which is so often what people do, especially entrepreneurs. And so the practice of EFT is really going to allow you, I think of it as it allows you to calm your body and quiet your mind so you can listen to your inner wisdom. We do
Mm.
have all the answers inside of us. That doesn't mean we never need support, but typically, if we really get quiet and listen, we know what support we need, whether it's, okay, this person I need to hire, this person I need to turn to just listen to me, like all of that. But usually we are just giving it all away because our society moves so quickly nowadays. We're so scared of taking the responsibility for things, that we never give ourselves permission to just stop and ask ourselves first, what do I think of this?
Mhm. 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 Well, I actually remember being asked something along the very same lines about 6 or 8 months ago, and I just couldn't even answer the question. The question was, "What do I want?"
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a coach, I've been a leader for a lot of years. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
interesting. I can't even answer that question for myself. And so
Mm-hmm.
even to your point, getting quiet and answering that question for yourself, or even being willing to being open to walking with it, because maybe I don't know right now what I want. Because if
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had permission to even explore what I
Yes,
want, then that, like, there's even steps to take sometimes before answering the question.
totally. And this is one of the greatest ways EFT has come to serve me to answer the question you asked a little bit too. When I think about the transformation that I've had, I think I had first heard of EFT in 2018, I believe. And at that time, is language is going to come up. I'll give you I should come with a disclaimer. You should put
It's
a
not a problem.
disclaimer
It's not a problem.
too. But like when I had very first heard of EFT, I saw somebody doing it. It was being introduced in a workshop I was actually like running in Peru. I was doing I combined some like international travel and humanitarian trips with coaching, and somebody was teaching EFT. And I remember at that time being like, that shit looks weird. I'm not touching my face like that. And I literally would not do it. And it was not until a year later I had landed my dream job, which was running retreats for veterans out in the wilderness. And I was actually in therapy for arachnophobia because I was having a lot of anxiety attacks related to spiders. That I started this job. We were in these cabins in the woods. There was a wolf spider infestation, and I literally spent all night awake, like sending like or writing crazy stream of consciousness emails to my therapist that I never sent. And so the next day when I finally was like, I have got to tell somebody about this, and I pulled the other facilitator aside and was like, I want to be here, but I'm really struggling. And she was like, oh, have you heard of this tapping thing? EFT is also known as tapping. And I was like, whatever, I'll do anything. And it was shocking to me just how quickly that
Yeah.
I was able to regulate. And I went on to work that job for 18 months, without even doing deep work on the arachnophobia, actually. And I didn't like the spiders, but I was able to sleep, like they were there, like all of that. I didn't have that same hypervigilance that I had been having. And then I started incorporating that into my coaching practice. And a lot of times we think about mindset work and we think about, uh, being cognizant of our thoughts and choosing thoughts that serve us better. But because of those things that like so often our thoughts and our beliefs, they're not only coming from society, but they're coming from the people who raised us and like what we saw and what we experienced growing up. Most of our decisions that we made about ourselves and how we fit into the world and how the world operates, we made those decisions between the ages of 0 and 6 years old.
Mhm.
And then we've never paused to like think about them again, and they also start showing up a little differently as adults too. So it might not make sense to us, like consciously, we might be like, oh, but I know I'm lovable. I know I'm enough for this thing. But when our bodies like are sending us signals like, okay, well, whatever your brain is saying is utter, absolute bullshit, right? Like that is where having some kind of somatic practice, and somatic means body, like comes into place because our bodies hold the score of everything that's ever happened to us, whether it's something traumatic or if you don't resonate with the word trauma, like any significantly emotional event, those are things that we made decisions about. And when we're only focusing on in our heads, like I just can't think this thought anymore, like I like to think of EFT like brings your body to the party in your head. It gets
Yep.
those things on the same page so you actually believe yourself when you go to do something big, something scary, something audacious, and all the self-doubt comes up because self-doubt is not a bad thing. It's only, quote unquote bad when it holds us back from what we want to do. But like self-doubt often shows up when we're getting ready to do something scary. And the problem is when we like listen to those voices and we operate from them like, oh no, I am not good enough. I am going to fall on my face. They are all going to laugh at me and I'm not going to be able to survive that, right? Like being able to take those steps, those couple minutes to calm your body, quiet your mind, so you can listen to what you really need in that moment, because those thoughts that are building us up are there in every single one of us. They just can typically kind of be buried under all of the bullshit that is we're confronted with every single
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. It's so interesting that you say that. And I would be curious. I'm hypothesizing that your journey is similar to mine, which may not be the case. But when I came to coaching work, it was so much mindset related. And it's only been through working with my own fear, my own doubt, my own anxieties and worries that I've learned my body needs to be on board or it's just
Yes.
going to shut down.
Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, when we're ignoring those body signals too, when we don't understand the difference between this anxiety is showing up for me because I truly do, something isn't in quite in place yet, right? Like
Hmm.
I do need to learn something else, or I do need support here, or this isn't meant for me. This is something I was told to do. Like how often, like there's all these familial expectations, right? Like you're supposed to be a caretaker, you're supposed to have kids, you're supposed to be a doctor, like a lawyer, whatever. Like so many of us have so many different of those beliefs. Like I think I was in my mid 20s, like I always suspected like I didn't want children. It wasn't something I'd like really thought about. And as like a woman, like, even a girl, like that's something that is kind of programmed into us. And especially like being raised Catholic, right? Like that's part of what your responsibility is as a woman in the world. And I think I was in my mid 20s, maybe my earlier 20s, because I was married to my first husband at the time, where I was just like, oh, I get to decide whether I want this, period. And it doesn't matter what other people think. I just get to focus on me and me here. Like that was huge for me.
Your own path,
Yeah.
right? Versus the shoulds or the
Yes.
musts that other people invite us to, but it doesn't feel like an invitation. I don't
Yeah. No.
like it feels like that's your path and thou shalt walk down the path.
Hmm. But if your path is feeling cold and dark and terrifying
Probably not your
versus,
path.
yes, versus like lit and exhilarating, right? There's like a bit of fear in exhilaration, but it feels different than the terror that comes with, oh, how would you describe it? Like,
Can I help?
Yes. Yeah. Because I
I'll
know
just
you know what I'm talking about here.
I completely know what you're talking about, and I'll share something that I've never shared before, but it's been on my mind because I know that it's an important lesson to share. So I come from, I mean, I have my brother and I, that's it, family of two. And my path was not to be one, my path was decided for me. You are female, you get married, you have babies, you look after the babies, that's what you do. And I was so not, that was not my path. Yes, I did end up having two children, and I love them very much. And it was not the best moments of my life. They were
Yeah,
not,
so I've heard.
they were not the moments that lit me up the most. What I really, really wanted for myself was a career. I
Hmm.
really, really wanted that, and I fought for that. There were no opportunities for dollars to go to school, to get educated, to that was available to my brother, but it wasn't available to me. And so I know exactly what that feels like, and I couldn't not do it. I know that sounds like a double negative because it is, but also I was like, I have to follow this path, this thing inside of me that wants something else.
Yes.
I couldn't deny it. And I was ready to do whatever it took to be able to have that as part of my life. I'm like, this is my path. And how did I know it? It felt good.
Hmm. Yes.
It didn't feel like terrible. And even when I've been in other jobs, I've always known it by how I felt.
Hmm.
Was it time to leave? If I felt like I was going to work every day and it didn't feel good, that was an indicator, that was a sign to do something different.
Yes. I think that leading with feeling is one of the most important um, skills to have. Anytime I set goals, and I'll can talk a little bit about, it's the end of the year, the beginning of the
Yes,
year. So of course, I've been using EFT a lot with goal setting, starting with what do I want, right?
love
And
it.
then it's, sitting there and like being able to really use that to note that fear. Like I've got big goals this year. I have a YouTube channel that I've had since last year, but like really I want to throw all my weight behind it and create a blog that comes up and my brain keeps telling me, "Oh, but that's a lot for this year. Like you didn't do it last year. So what makes you think this year is going to be any better?" And so having that practice where I am using EFT to be like, okay, this fear is coming up. Is this legit? Is this something not meant for me? Or is this just that self-doubt, like that, those parts of me that are trying to keep me safe? Because
Mm,
that is the thing with transformation is even good change is still terrifying to the parts of us, right? Like it
yes.
is the unknown, and that is something that every human is scared of, right? Is like, what if this doesn't work out? What if it's not what I expected, right? But like the choice is there. Like, are you the person that wonders what if? Are you the person that has the fantastic, insane, incredible story to tell, regardless of what? I mean, some of my favorite stories are the ones that are like the clusterfucks that didn't turn out, the way I expected them. But, either it gave me information that I needed for the next time, my next attempt to be the type of success that I was looking for, or it uncovered some piece of information that I needed to know to help me move forward. And I think that that is again something that is so important for humans to be able to recognize, knowing that failure is not a bad thing. It is something like society, for some reason, we have turned it into this bad, dirty word, and it is just how we learn.
Fascinating. Can you explain for us how EFT works and who it helps the most?
Yes. So I'm not going to go in the deepest dive on how it works because that ain't my forte. I'm much better at like giving people experiences. But I invite you to like think about this. Like anytime we experience something traumatic or significantly emotional, and this is true even now as an adult, but particularly when we were kids, it's like a piece of us kind of peels off and is kind of stuck in our energy field. You know, human beings are made of energy. And so we all have like kind of just energy fields around us. And so it's like that part of us gets stuck in our energy field. And that part of us is reliving that moment over and over again, kind of like Groundhog Day, if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
And when typically, when we're moving through time and space, like as an adult, like what I see often happen with people is that they run into some kind of obstacle or challenge, and then they start feeling scared for whatever reason that they're making up in their brain, right? And it's because this part of them is starting to kind of come forward in their body, right? That's when you like consciously might in your head be like, I know I can look around, I can see that I'm safe right here, nobody's out to get me, but maybe like our chest suddenly feels tight, or our throats start constricting, or get like the anxious butterflies in the stomach. And it's because this part of us is starting to kind of come forward, where it's being reminded of when they were experiencing whatever in time and place. And typically what people start doing in their heads is being like, I'm so stupid, I should be
Mm-hmm.
over this, um, I shouldn't be feeling this way, all of these shoulds, right? And you're neglecting that part of you, often a very young part. Like I think of, we have not necessarily like an inner child, but like inner children. And it's all made up
Mm-hmm.
of these parts kind of stuck in those loops. And so when we just go to that shame and blame place, we're just immediately making ourselves feel worse. Like self-judgment is the biggest time waster in the world,
Yep.
period. And when we can take a step back and like be like, okay, rationally, my head knows that I'm not in danger right now, but my body is not, does not believe me. And we can take that step back and think about like, okay, there is a part of me that's really scared right now. I hear you, I'm listening. Instead of going immediately to, this is why you shouldn't feel this way, or even reassurance. That's what EFT allows us to do. It allows us not only to become self-aware around where some of these fears might come from, but it allows us actually to integrate that part of us into like who we are now.
No.
And so then we don't have to like constantly have that same argument in our head. When you think about thoughts and beliefs, right? A belief is just a thought that we practice. But the thing is we practice those thoughts from such young ages and we operate from them. But we do get to change our minds at any time. But it does take practice, practice having those new
Yeah.
thoughts, practice paying attention to them, practice taking action from them. Sometimes people will be like, all right, I get the mindset where I'm going to choose these better thoughts, right? But when they're not in belief, they kind of either, that's where self-sabotage comes up, like imposter syndrome, like things like that. And EFT allows you to have a proper conversation with that part of you, and then they feel heard and
Mm-hmm.
you feel better. Like, period.
I love that. I love that. And is there a person that this practice wouldn't support, wouldn't
No.
help?
No, I mean, the person that it doesn't help is the person that doesn't, that won't do it, like me when I first heard of it, right? I mean, my belief is anything will work if you work it. But in this like fast-paced society that we have now, like people are expecting this, my first time, my entire life, I have to become a different person. And that's not like the way life works, right? Things can happen fast. And EFT, I do think, is the fastest, most gentle, safest way to really get your body on board with what your brain is thinking, but you still have to do it, right?
Yes.
Like it's
You-
I'm even thinking about this, like, so I wear these lashes from Lashify and I love them. Um, but they're, and I do them myself, but there's a giant learning curve, and there's like a great Facebook group that teaches you about the lashes, and like there's so many people in there who like immediately are like, oh, I tried this one time and they all fell off. Like, well, you have to practice doing it, like, right? Like take the time to put into you, period.
That's why it's a practice,
Yes,
right? And
totally.
like anything, working out, learning how
Yep.
to cook, learning how to do a new craft, a new hobby, a new job, whatever it is. I mean, literally coming into the world and walking, we didn't just do it. We,
Yep.
and we didn't have just one try. If we
And
did and
we
we
fell down a
decided
lot.
that we fell down a lot. But if we look at, I mean, I have four grandchildren and I just look at them and there's no hesitation. They're just
Hmm.
up.
Yeah, they don't have
They're
all the
just they're
stuff
just
in
up.
their heads. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the stuff in their heads and what's in their heads, I mean, that's a podcast for another episode. But just even observing them being like there's some element to us even being able to look at that cognitively and say, well,
Hmm.
if they can do it, I can do it. And
Yes.
that can apply to anyone, to anything that you want to learn or who you want to become
Yes.
in the world.
Yes. And that is why I believe in so passionately in being a product of my product, because that it societal change happens at the individual level. It begins at the individual level. And if we're all waiting for a bunch of other people to change the world for us, like we're not, then we don't get a say so, right? That so we have to be able to like choose the courage to look inside and like make decisions like based on our values and what we want to put off in the world and like in how we want to leave the world when we are gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this goes back to something that you said earlier around people don't want to, whether it's conscious or unconscious, don't want to take responsibility
Hmm.
for the fact that this is your life. This is
Yeah, and
it, right here, right now.
yeah, I think this comes from I've done so much thinking about this, particularly in the last since 2016 when politics really, at least for me, started getting really rowdy, right? But this thing I see, particularly with Americans, I don't know what it's like in Canada, is like, we pride ourselves, Americans pride ourselves in having like free thinking and being able to, the individual, and we hate taking responsibility. And I think that is because people really confuse taking responsibility with blame. And I see them as like two different things. Taking responsibility for something is very empowering. You're recognizing, um, maybe I did something that is not within my values here, or maybe it was at one time, but now I have changed my mind about that and I've thought about it more versus, blaming, which is, God, you're so stupid. I cannot believe you did that. You have to pay for this, right? And that's not what taking responsibility is. And when you can take responsibility with compassion for yourself, like that, again, that is a skill that allows you to take risks, move forward, take in new information, change your mind, and just have the impact that you want to have on the
And
world.
completely and change your entire life and its trajectory, not
Hmm.
only for you,
Yes.
for those you lead, for
Yep.
those you serve, for those you raise, for those
Yep.
you love. Like there's just the ripple effect is astronomical when
Hmm.
you can. And I see it very simply. I see it as taking responsibility as I'm choosing this next action.
Hmm. Yeah,
For
because that's so much more empowering, right? Than
and
I'm
and that
helping you.
yeah, and if I can I always feel like it's a good day at the end of the day when I can look at myself in the mirror and say, you made some good choices today.
Yes, totally.
Because they're all choices.
Hmm.
And granted, we are human, and I'll make choices that, maybe there could have been a different one or a better one or the different timing or whatever the case may be. But I guess I'm also a product of the product in the sense that I see that carrying around or shaming myself or blaming myself isn't helping anyone.
Mhm.
And it's
Yes.
not helping me help others, which means for me, it's not the best use of my time.
Yes.
And that's how we will collectively change the world is when we change our mind, change our choices, and partner with our own body to make that change.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm curious about something. When hmm, I have been tapping for 30 minutes minimum a day for the last 6 months. And it's been told to me that it doesn't matter what words I say if I don't say any words, just the function of tapping on the meridian points that I choose, whichever ones serve you or
Mhm.
me, that it helps me prepare my vessel was the term, my body for the big things that I was planning for myself. And I
Mhm.
found that to be true. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, tapping is incredible. It's an incredible tool. When I first start working with people, especially if they aren't familiar with EFT, my first kind of invitation for a homework assignment to them is just to spend time tapping through the points while they're watching Netflix or in
Yeah.
the bath or just like sitting on the couch or before bed. Because just by tapping, there have been studies. Um, it's again calming the central nervous system, accessing that greater sense of peace. I think of it as it starts kind of preparing your body for if something, if and when, because we're human beings, and so we're all, something is always going to happen. It is a top of our mind to tap when something significant does come up to us, and also like the calmer that we are when we're feeling calm, the easier it is to access calm when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling angry, when we're feeling sad, all of that. So EFT does work the best when you are making it specific to you, right? Like,
Mm,
and using your own words. Um, I mean, it can also be incredible, as you know, you've come to several of my groups, tapping in groups with somebody else, even with their words that maybe you're not necessarily resonating with, but that also has a great impact because it can give us some distance from things. But when you have significant trauma or you're just noticing like the same thing, I have to tap on the same thing every day, like that's indicative of a core belief being there. And maybe it's time to like, kind of really target that. What's this thing that probably is going back to childhood that I am ready to let go of?
mm.
Like
How do
when,
you,
yeah, go ahead.
no, no, you go ahead, finish your thought.
You go, because I might be getting ready to answer what you're asking. So,
I'm just curious about, so if that's the case,
Mhm.
how, in your experience,
Mhm.
what has been the most supportive in those cases? Like you're around a core belief that's like kind of core to the identity that the
Mhm.
story that you told yourself. What then?
Yeah, it's okay. What do I want to believe? What can I start now, right? Like sometimes when I see people tapping just on positive affirmations and they're never addressing the negative, like that's the power of EFT. It's being able to say, like, when people, I remember somebody came to a group once and she was like, I've been looking every day in the mirror and telling myself, like, looking deeply into my eyes and saying, I am enough. She's like, it's been 2 years and I still don't believe it. And it was just like, well, yeah, because you're not honoring the parts of you that don't believe that. And also, like, enough for what?
Yeah, and
Right?
according to
Like,
who?
exactly. Like being able to have more of a conversation with yourself. Sometimes when I tap, like, I'm literally just tapping and I'm just like, huh, this is interesting. I'm noticing I'm just feeling uptight today. I wonder what that's about. And I might literally just be tapping through the points, fixating on wherever, how do I know I'm feeling uptight today or overwhelmed? I wonder what that part of my body has to say. And I just tap through the points and really kind of pay attention, fixating on what that sensation is. And especially with trauma, work with a practitioner is what
Mhm.
I say. on my YouTube channel, I do have a number. I've got your like standard like tap along videos, like you can just tap along with me. Um, and then anything labeled personal tapping is me doing my personal work that I record, and then I decide later whether I'm going to let it be public just to give myself the safety there to explore what I need to. Um, but the benefit of watching those is I'm talking through it too. Even when I'm getting really emotional, I'm talking to the camera like as if I'm teaching somebody, okay, this is what's happening to me now. So now here's what is going to happen. And there's, you can watch one of those and like pause and do your own journaling and all of that and just kind of see what comes up for you there. But there is no, sometimes when I tell people, they're like, well, I was tapping last night and my clients, and I felt the need to like tap a different place than my body than what you've taught me. And my first question is always like, okay, did it help? Did
Yeah.
you feel better? Like, right? Like, because again, I cannot, like my whole thing is helping people rely on themselves more, right? I am the guide to help them build that compassion, build that desire to even take those first steps and how to use EFT with that. But I am always putting it back on them first. Well, how did you feel? Did it feel great? Perfect. I am not going to be one who's like, well, you weren't doing EFT right. Like you
Yeah.
were for you
Yeah.
because you're feeling better. You get to trust that. And again, comes back to permission. I give myself permission to trust myself.
Yes.
And a good way to think about having a tapping practice that is specific to you. Again, let's think about goals. It's the beginning of the year, right? So, what are the goals that I have this year? What do I need to believe about myself in order to make those dreams, those goals, those dreams, those intentions come true, right? And then really digging in there. That's always a great way to start our tapping, right? So when I think of like my goals this year, it's like I really want to make my YouTube channel and my blog the like go-to place for people to learn EFT. And of course, when I think that, I feel like terrified, right? And like there's lots of thoughts that start churning around in my head, like, oh, YouTube is so oversaturated. There's already so many people out there who are doing it, right? Like, what do I need to believe about myself that is going to let me overcome that? And like that belief is like my voice, like people need to hear it in my voice. The people that gravitate towards me need me to step up and hear it in my voice. And so that is where I start. It's scary, even though I am terrified of stepping out and being seen. Like, I accept myself, I honor what I'm feeling. That's the standard kind of language we use in EFT, because again, it is about giving a voice to those things that hold us back.
Hmm.
And then combining that with an affirmation of acceptance of who we are and what we're feeling in that moment. Um, period. That's what allows us to release those things. But usually we are fighting them. Um, and that gives you kind of the
Yeah.
point to start the EFT if you want it more targeted each day. What is specific to me? What do I need to believe? What gets in my way?
And
And
being able to even express those
yes.
things. And for
Mm-hmm.
some people, perhaps for the very first time,
Yes.
when we allow ourselves to witness our own words,
Yeah.
sometimes is that can bring up like, who am I to
Totally.
even say that?
Yeah.
Right?
And
Who am I to like all of these that
yes.
this doubt that comes and visits us
Mhm.
based on what we've been taught about ourselves, and also depending on how much change or transformation you have had in your life, even stepping further into
Mhm.
what that might be if you're wanting more of something in your life. It's just another level. That's what I'm learning. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
there it is again. It's wearing a different shade of the same
Yes.
color.
Yep,
but
that's what
it's
I say too.
but it's showing up here. It's like, oh, there you are again. Thank
It's
you.
crayon orange instead of orange crayon today. Absolutely. it is like peeling layers of an onion. And like one of my thoughts is always like whatever I needed to learn today is like what I needed to learn today. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be for magic to happen is one of my
Oh, I
most,
love that.
because that keeps me in like I did enough today because here's what I did do, even if it's a day where I didn't do anything other than get out of bed and like get showered, right? Or like whatever it is, we get to give ourselves credit for any of those things because who knows what day, we're kind of having. And like it is amazing what happens on a day where you are having a less than productive day that, maybe you wanted to have. And when you just give yourself permission not to be pissed about it and be like, well, you know what? Here's what I did do today. And I'm going to count that as productivity. I mean, the next day those are always my most like incredible days, the day after that, when I just like truly give myself permission to like release any self-judgment. Because it's not about never judging yourself again or never having a feeling you're not proud of again or thought or action. It is about progress, not prevention. What do I do the moment I catch myself having one of those human moments? And also with the EFT setup statement, you don't have to accept the actual emotion that you're feeling. You're just accepting that you yourself are experiencing that emotion.
Mm. It's allowance, the art of allowance.
Totally. And like always, again, being able, sometimes people, especially people who are into like manifesting and things like that. They're just like, oh my God, why would I say the negative? Isn't that what makes it come true? I'm like, no, like what makes it come true is like your ability to believe that that thing is for you. And like, look, manifestation is just a fancy word for goals, intentions, desire. So like, don't think manifesting is like about making a wish and then like all of a sudden it comes true. Like when people are ever like, I've been manifesting this thing forever and like it hasn't come true to me. And it's like, well,
It's
it's
belief.
totally, you have to believe that it's there for you. And having belief doesn't mean that it has to be 100% belief every single day, right? One of the things I think of like, okay, what is my belief today on a scale of 1 to 10 that my YouTube channel by the end of 2025 is going to be the greatest thing, YouTube channel, greatest resource on EFT out there, right? And on the days that it might be a 1 out of 10, fantastic. It's still a 1. And so when I allow myself to step into what are the reasons, what are the thoughts that create that 1, not that why isn't it a 10, but it's not a 0. What are the thoughts that
Yes.
create that 1? Then you just step into that. Other stuff, it will be there. But when you allow yourself to step into that and explore instead of freaking out anytime you're having a day where you're like, this is never going to happen for me, right? Like, yeah, that's where the magic happens. And again, I'm so big on empowerment. That's then something I get to give myself credit for giving myself again that space and grace to develop that self-belief and to scaffold it on the days it needs scaffolding.
Absolutely. And I think it's so, I mean, without the belief, and that's belief is a felt thing.
Yes.
It's not a cognitive thing, or at least in my experience, belief is like it's all over my body. That's where I get the sparkles, the sparkly energy, and I feel it. I'm like, okay, I'm onto something here. Like I am believing this. I'm lit up by this. I'm excited about this. It's almost like there's nothing can stop me
Mm-hmm.
energy. It's magic. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally feeling like magic.
Yes.
And that to me is the business case for bringing and partnering with your body. Not that
Mm-hmm.
we need a business case, but if you're here to do big things, you're
Yes.
going to need to learn how to partner your body. And that's one of the things that if I had a critique about my coaching school, that would be it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because there wasn't that just wasn't a part of it. It was very cognitive and it was amazing. It still changed my life.
Yeah.
I still helped other people
Yep.
change their life. And now as I continue to lead and evolve differently and take off more of those layers of the things that aren't me to
Yes.
allow the me to come through, that's when I want to partner. So if someone is listening to this that's feeling stuck, that's feeling
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed, they don't know where to start, what
Mm-hmm.
advice would you give them?
Number one, it would be to choose to believe in yourself enough in that moment to see things in a new way. And number two would be get on board with some kind of somatic practice. I recommend EFT. I've got a YouTube channel that you can go to, and there is a playlist called WTF is EFT, and it is going to teach you. And then you've got resources to tap along with there, and you can ask me questions because that will like form my content to learn about those things. But really truly like stepping into the power of this life is mine. We get one of them.
Mm,
How do I want to feel as I like live this life? Because again, we talked about that with goal setting earlier. I always attach feelings to my goals.
your
Like
goal.
want to make this kind of money this year with ease and flow. I want to create this amazing YouTube channel with confidence and like authenticity, right? Like
Mm,
really like cueing into those things, those value words for me. How do I want to feel? Because that becomes my guiding light. And whenever we are creating something from nothing, which is what innovators and leaders and entrepreneurs are doing every single day, like we have got to be able to hold that belief in ourselves and in our path, even if it is not quite illuminated yet.
and most times there's a question brewing in my
Yeah.
mind here because if our path isn't often illuminated, it's typically because it's a different one. So
Yep.
I'm curious, what mindset or belief shift do you think is most important for someone looking to step into
Mm-hmm.
that very authentic path? Like it's not illuminated.
Mm-hmm. There are two. One is my gifts are unique and somebody somewhere absolutely needs me to step up,
Mm,
period. Really being able to adopt that belief about yourself. Somebody somewhere needs me to step up. As somebody who has spent so much of her life like as a woman, a woman socialized as a woman in this nurturing area who is still in the helping profession, uh, sometimes that means me, right? Sometimes when I first started out, I'd be like, okay, what do I want to write about today or whatever? And I would just be like, okay, well, what do I need to hear? And so that's the place that I would be kind of creating content from, not in a first person thing, but like it would be like me as if I was like another person writing to myself. And again, really being able to build that trust in that way. And then the second, I know you've heard me say this a ton, is what's best for me is best for those around me. When I put my needs, my priorities, my wants and desires first, it works out for everybody. Because the more we allow ourselves to feel good and it feels good to be on that path ourselves, then the more we do good. And I think the more people doing good in the world is what the world needs right now. And we need those trailblazers who want to do things differently, especially right now when the world is feeling oftentimes like a scary and dark place that we have no control over.
absolutely. And I think it's probably safe to say, like, we're starting to see just different systems and different ways of thinking and leading. And so if you're listening to this and there is a dream or a way of leading or a way of doing things that is on your heart or your soul, that may not be on anyone else's. That's for a reason.
Yes.
That's
And you
for a
don't
reason.
know. Somebody might need you to be out there because it might be on their soul too, right? And if we wait for everybody who's being quiet about what's theirs on their soul, instead of being like, no, man, I'm leading this charge,
Yes. And what are
I
we
get to be a
waiting for? What are we
totally.
waiting for?
Yes.
Right? Like, I mean, and this is our path because, and I've said this on the podcast 100 times, and you've probably heard me say it as well, Jess. There is no one uniquely like you. Like you were, no one was built like you.
Mm-hmm.
There is no
1000.
one better served in the world to be you. And
Yes.
trying to show up and lead and live like everyone else is just not serving you or them or me. It's just not, that's not authentic. It's not true to who you are. And it's not giving the best of what you have to offer, what you came here, because I believe everyone has a golden thread here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only by sharing those golden threads that we can weave together something that's even stronger than what we're used to, that can hold us in ways that we haven't been held before.
1000%. Yes.
I want to ask you what, so Jess, I'm gonna give you a chance to tell listeners how to connect with you. But what's next for you and your growth journey or coaching practice? You've talked about goals, but what do you feel you want to share with us?
Yeah, my biggest thing, and Cynthia, you know this like about me, is like I'm pretty talkative, like I'm pretty gregarious, like I am
You're just
comfortable.
delightful. You're delightful.
Thank you. Um, but this year is really about me stepping up in an even bigger way because I have been limiting those things, kind of staying hidden. Yes, I have this YouTube channel and I'm great at, showing up as exactly who I am and doing that, but I have not been giving myself um the enough trust in how do I get that in front of more people,
Mm,
right? Like, what do I really need to do? It's kind of been like, oh, I'm going to do these videos and let them like hang out everywhere. And on one hand, yep, two things can be true on this at the same time. Like, YouTube is a search engine; anybody can come, across those videos at every time. And also, me stepping into more of I have what it takes to not just put these videos on YouTube, but have it be something that people are following, people are talking about. And so, really, this year, stepping up into being bold. That is what I'm
yeah.
working on this year. And I am so grateful to have EFP along for the ride in that. And so, I am on social media. I do have a Instagram account at Jess.Johnson Coaching. I am not super on there, but that might change this year. And when I do show up, it's pretty great stuff. So I would recommend following me there as well as on YouTube, which is called Makeshift Happen with Jess Johnson. And I'll send you that link to connect,
Yes.
start doing that there. And I'm also working on a brand new resource outside of even the YouTube channel. I'm revamping my workbook this year that kind of teaches you how to create the unique setup statements and tapping scripts for your unique needs.
Well, and I just want to, I think I've told you this, but I can't be sure. So if I repeat myself, that's okay. People listening don't know this, but I didn't know anything at all about EFT until I met you and we were in Miami together and I was observing Jess tapping and I was like, that is very cool. Whatever she's doing over there, I just need to learn about it. And I hopped on her email list. So you might want to tell people how they can do
Yes.
that
Mm-hmm.
because I got this workbook, and maybe that's the one that you're revamping, that actually explained it to me in a way that I could understand what it was. I actually am not sure if I would have come across some of the
Mm-hmm.
things that I've learned after that. I'm not sure I would have had the ability to kind of understand it in the way that you articulated it so that
Mm-hmm.
I could receive it. And I have from EFT, from Jess herself, even just learning and spending time in her groups, but I have helped other people. I direct them to her YouTube and can't say enough about it. I think it's amazing work. I think it's a wonderful way to cultivate self-trust, self-love, self-acceptance, and work through all of those emotions that are in our way because let's face it, wherever we go, there we are. So it's always us. And so I just am so thankful, grateful for you sharing that. I would invite you to share with them how they can hop on your email list if there's a way that you do that, or if it's a link that you can give me and I can put that in the show notes. And the other thing is, final question. What is one thing that you hope listeners take away from this conversation?
It is that space and grace is far more motivating and will get you someplace faster than shame or blame. Like self-judgment, just make an agreement with yourself. I do not have to beat myself up. Yeah, and yeah, it's going to be scary because that feels very scary to those parts of us to trust that, but it really, things happen so much more quickly when you adopt that
Yeah,
mentality. Like,
it's so true. It's so true. And I mean, cognitively, I think people can get behind it. And also, it's a practice.
exactly. And whenever you hear yourself in your head saying, consciously, I know, but dot dot dot, that is when you turn to EFT, like or just like stopping that and exploring, right? Like because that's you're never going to push through that sensation is always going to be there until you choose to do something different.
And release it.
Choose to do
And
something different. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Anything you would like to add, Jess?
Um, I think that is it. Thank you so much. Also, I do plan on continuing my groups into next year. Like I know, Cynthia, you've been a big part of them. I've been doing free bi-monthly groups, and I do plan on continuing that because I just had so much fun in them. And my best place to sign up for my email list now is to go to my Instagram because in the bio there, it's going to have the link to sign up for my YouTube and also to my email list there.
That is
And then you'll be
amazing.
getting the updated, you'll be the first people to be getting the updated workbook too, which I'm really excited about.
That is amazing. This has been the most delightful way to spend the
Yes.
end of the year.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate you so much for taking time out of your schedule, your day, your work to be here to share your wisdom, yourself, your authenticity, and just your heart with all of us.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate all of your support and everything. Just your calm demeanor and passion is inspiring to me.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope that you're walking away feeling more aligned with your true self, more confident in the choices ahead, and ready to leave the safe path behind, knowing you've got everything you need within. Remember, the journey to you isn't about finding one perfect direction. It's about trusting yourself enough to explore all of it. If you're ready to dive deeper, join me for the next episode and don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss the next step on your path. I invite you to join my mailing list at www.cynthiajamesoncoach.ca, where we'll deepen our relationship and you can claim your copy of Your Inner Compass, a guide to charting your course to authenticity. Until next time, stay unfiltered, stay true, and most importantly, stay you.